Welcome back to another episode with a look beyond the continent. My name is Emil, and together with my co-host Ezra, we discuss Gwent, our favorite competitive card game, as well as topics such as streaming, social media growth, and of course the Witcher universe. Today's episode, we are joined by GabbyDigs. Gabby is a cocktail enthusiast from Vancouver, Canada. While Gwent is her main squeeze, as of today, she streamed in 86 categories with a goal of 100 by the end of the year. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. Gabby will be joining us in discussing the latest reveal of the Monsters cards in the Harvest of Sorrow expansion in Gwent. So guys, before we do a deep dive, Gabby, Ezra, what are your initial thoughts on seeing the new cards for Monsters? Maybe let's start with you, Gabby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked. Monsters isn't my number one faction for the most part. They're usually my number three. Like, they're always like so just like right in the mid, like easy to play, but I'm stoked about a couple of them. Incubus is very cool. I love the band to start with. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be very cool. YAGA is also very neat. YAGA to me it's unlike Monsters. I think it's gonna be one of those cards that if everyone is playing, everyone's gonna be playing Locks. But if once people play Locks, people stop playing YAGA, and then we'll start to see more and more YAGA. I just see it being, I don't know, I think it's interesting. Those are the two I'm most excited about personally.
And what about you, Ezra? What are you excited about? What are you not so excited about? What are your initial thoughts?
I mean, let's just talk about the fact that my boy Incubus over here loves feet. He's got a foot fetish. No. Like, a lot of these cards look pretty interesting in terms of what they can do. It looks like it's all based around summoning and then more relics. Obviously, we knew for a fact that it seemed like this entire expansion was dedicated to relics and that whole archetype because it wasn't very playable besides the Crones and maybe a couple neutrals. But yeah, like with lately, relics have just blown the entire monster faction out of the water in terms of slamming down all these heavy engines, getting all these crazy points. I'm talking about you, Gurney. Busted, or were busted, I should say. Yeah, it's like a lot of these cards have the potential to do like very tall in terms of points, very fast. So it's like you have to be ready to respond to a lot of these cards quickly, or you're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, so I mean, when I saw these cards, I was thinking the same thing as you guys, but also I noticed that there's a lot of playing around with the graveyard, which we have noticed, for Skellige, for Nilfgaard as well. So, I mean, again, this is something that we have to keep an eye on now. I definitely think it's going to change the meta, as you guys have said. Every season, as we see new patch, it's a little bit crazy in the first week when everyone's trying to do different things, and then the meta kind of settles, and then it's interesting to see, when it settles, what everyone will be playing and how we counter all these new things that we have to look out for, such as the graveyard and Toll Punish and whatnot. So with that being said, let's get into the cards. Let's start with Incubus, obviously the foot fetish guy. But little tagline he says here, women exist to be worshipped. So I thought that was a nice little tagline.
Yep. Typical foot worship guy.
So
it's just such a Tarantino thing, right? Like, this is what he's referencing, right?
Yeah. I saw someone, I don't know where I read it, maybe it was on Reddit, someone mentioned that, well, hopefully it's not the self-eater's feet, but it doesn't look like it is.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, who thought of that? But yeah, look, Incubus is a rare card. He is a relic, as we've mentioned before. 5 points, 5 provision cost. His ability is deploy. So summon a bronze unit from your opponent's graveyard to the opposite row. Then summon a bronze unit of equal or less provisions from your graveyard to this row. I don't know why I'm laughing about this, but guys, tell me what you think and I'll let you know what I'm thinking about this card.
It's almost like it's a bronze tech against the Mamuna, in a sense. It's gonna pull, the card that Mamuna wants to eat. If this is, in the case of a mirror. So yeah, it could potentially break the Mamuna in that sense, and then you'll be able to play something of equal provision cost or less, on your side. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. It seems almost like it's kind of memey, but then it also does feel like, okay, I'm giving my opponent points. Like, I get the synergy that, like I said, it's gonna probably feed into Yaga at the most. That's what I would assume. Maybe, but it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
say. Like, you'd be giving your opponent points as well as yourself, so it's like, how do you factor it? You're like, how do you like determine? Okay, is the card good or not?
Yeah, I think it's I would say it's a conditional card. A lot of these cards that have come out in this expansion seem very conditional, so it could be good, but in a sense, if you can't play it the way that you want it to play, then it's kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of setup involved, right? So like it would mean that there's already something in your opponent's graveyard that you'd want to pull out, such as if you're doing a monsters mirror, it'd be like a griffin or per se, or an NL conqueror. But also thinking about other factions, right? You're not always going to play monsters, so would you want something to come out from like Skellige or Northern Realms? For Northern Realms, I'm thinking like, pulling out a Banard student or something like that, or one of the mages that have already their patience quite high. So I don't know. And then like to remove it, but I'm not sure. Like, Gabby, what do you think? I'm not really sure about this card.
I hear what you're saying. It's weird for me because the only real graveyard decks I've ever played have been spell based in Scoia'tael, so it's weird for me to try and picture what the bronze units they'd actually be summoning are. And what do you want to summon? You don't care about the deployability. It's not like you're trying to take it from them from the graveyard. So yeah, no, I hear you. 5 for 5. At least when it says 5 for 5, it's only going up from there, right? Like it's not one of
Yeah.
these like 1 for 13s, and you're like, okay, do we actually get the like 12 plus 5 points to make this worth it? 5 for 5, it is. At the very least, it's it's a 1 for 1. It's not the absolute worst thing, but yeah, no, I know I don't know the graveyard units enough, to be honest.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
I could
That's
see.
this that's what this is all about, right? Like this is what this whole expansion is about, is the graveyard units. So I guess we'll see.
I mean, I could see like, okay, if your opponent is depending on like something in their graveyard, um, for example, like I don't know, for Skellige, if they're running, a Hjalmar, you could technically pull the greatsword out and brick it, in that sense. But then again, like it's playing for negative points at that point because you're giving them 10 points, and then you're playing a 6 provision unit on your side of the board. But I mean, is it
what do you pull out?
really going to play? Yeah, what are you going to pull that it's going to be worth 10
Mm-hmm.
points,
Mm. Yeah,
So
so I
maybe
think,
that's the only thing I could see if you want to be like that, but I would never want to give my opponent, 10 free points for no reason.
yeah, I don't know. I'm very skeptical of this card. We don't hold back here, but I'm skeptical of this because, yeah, as you said, it's just something that is, conditional. Is it something that you want your opponent to have on their side? And you said great sword, it would summon it, so it's not even a deploy. It would pull it out and it'd be 10 points, and it's like, do I want that for my opponent? I'm not sure how it works if like the card has an order ability. So like I'm thinking for you, Gabby, you play a lot of Scoia'tael. If you pulled out, say, what do you call it? The Sorceress of Dolblathana. Her order ability, would it reset? I don't know. I'm not sure how the mechanics work for this one. So
I would assume
I would
yes,
assume
because
order ability would reset, yes.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like,
because
why would you
But
want
it's
to pull
not
it
but
a
out?
still
deploy.
very conditional. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think maybe we have to go dive into
Mhm.
monsters and look at, all the bronze cards and think about which ones we actually would want to pull out with Incubus. But at this point in time, I'm like, I'm not 100% about this card yet. So
That's exactly where I'm at too. I'm like, I don't know what we would be trying to summon and how that would actually give us a benefit over the opponent. I don't know. But yeah.
I
It is
mean,
nice it's relict. We get it's another relic for our relic pocket, you know, like it's
yeah.
there's almost too many relics.
There's a lot
I
of
don't know.
relics, but I do
Yeah.
like the artwork, and kudos again to the artists. I feel like all the artwork's been really great this expansion. So
I agree.
yeah. But yeah, that's Incubus for you. I guess we're not
Incubus.
really sure about this card, so let's move on to the next card, which is a common card and is the Lesser Witch, also a relic. Plays for 5 points and 4 provision cost. So we see here it says deploy, spawn a base copy of self in your graveyard. Bonded keyword, as the theme of this expansion has been. I think it's supposed to synergize perhaps with the Mushy Truffle, the neutral card that came out. But yeah, it says here, spawn a base copy of self on this row instead. Tagline says less powerful but no less terrible. So guys, when I saw this card, and I want to get your thoughts on this one, I was thinking, and I don't know if it's just me being an inexperienced Gwent player, but I was like, why would I want to put a base copy of self in the graveyard? And then why would I want to spawn a base copy of self on this row instead? So maybe talk me through that. I feel a bit noob in saying that, but yeah, what do you guys think?
So yeah, tying this back to Incubus, this is probably the way you'd want him to be played. You know, if the bonded effect is applied, then you're putting another copy on the board, so it's kind of like a good point slam in a sense. This would give you an easy way to put a 4 provision unit on your side of the board. Like I said, like Gabby was saying, like it's a good way to set up the relic pocket really quickly, maybe instead of having to wait another turn. You can do it all in one.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one seems strong to me, and anytime something seems strong to me, it probably means it's not. So let's just take that with a grain of salt. But something about the truffles with the Lesser Witch, like already coming down as a 5 for 4. If you're bonded, it comes down as like what is that? So that would be like a 10 for 8. I don't exactly. That's like a 9 for. I don't know. I feel like with the bonded, it would be strong with the 2 of them, but with truffles, it's even stronger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because it would be really nice if you had, like Gabby said, if you had the Mushy Truffle on the board, and then you play this from hand, and that's basically 15 points right there.
I think that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say it would be best to play this with Mushy Truffle, or just if you were to take out Mushy Truffle, you would want it to be bonded? So if correct me if I'm mistaken, for bonded to work, your first card would have to stick on the board, right?
Correct.
Okay, just clarify. So yeah, okay.
This could also be a good target for Megascope too.
That is, that I have heard. Yeah, that's. I think Baron was saying Megascope would work really well for Witch. Yeah. He was even mentioning just playing one Witch with Truffle, which to play one of a bonded unit. That's like, I don't know. I thought it was like very.
That feels like that's way too
crazy.
Like,
too conditional, but like
it's
like,
very conditional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very.
But I can see.
I guess like
spicy. Interesting. Also, can I just say I love the art. All of the art, as you've said, was amazing, but I really like the art.
What's kind of crazy about this card? I swear I've seen this like particular creature in another horror movie or a game. It almost gives you like Silent Hill vibes, kind of. Like, I swear I've seen
getting
this.
Like almost Hellraiser with the
something like that.
I don't know.
Like this isn't the first time I've seen something that like looks like a priestess with like skulls on the top of her head. You know what? Now I know where it's from. The Forest.
Where is it from? I don't think
it's from a horror survival game, The Forest. There's a priest or a priestess or whatever cult, whatever member that walks around in the middle of the night, and she carries like a little lantern, and she will be like singing like a children's song. And when you're out there scavenging in the pitch black of the night or the woods, she has skulls, on top of her head of the victim that she eats.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that, Ezra. So I'll be having nightmares tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I'm like, this is not the first time I've seen something that looks like this in a game or a movie. Like, I've seen this type of art before.
Yeah.
I was going to
I
say.
guess
So maybe
I'm
that's where they
thinking
got their
yeah.
inspiration.
Sorry, for 4 provisions, I thought, as I said, Monsters is like my third faction, so I don't know all the 4 provision cards. It feels pretty good for 4 provisions, to be honest. Like, it's not like
Yeah.
you want to be playing all your 4 provisions anyways, right? Like, for the most part, we're going to be mulliganing these out. But if you had to play this, 5 for 4 is about what you hope for.
Yeah,
If
I get
You know,
Lyria's-
another good thing too with this is, nah, I could be wrong because it is spawning, but it does give you the potential to trigger like Self Eater quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
Like this, I could see like you running like an entire round dedicated to this in Self Eater, and just have a bunch of these go off, and that's your, you know, you just win your round with a bunch of bronze spawns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. You kind of like
Yeah,
just pumping
absolutely.
it out on round 1 and kind of saving your golds, I guess, for round 2 and
Mhm.
round
Yep.
3. So it gives a lot of tempo for sure. You get a lot of points, especially if you've got the bonded. So I don't think it's a bad card at all. Again, we have to wait and see until we can actually play in a few days. So yeah,
And get the patch, right? Like, how do you even know what the cards are going to be like?
I don't know.
I
That's
know
I
how
think
they're
that's what
going to be.
I think that's the exciting thing with the patch. But then it's also
Agreed.
like I get a bit of anxiety thinking, how am I going to cope with this new patch with all the new cards and all the decks that have been working for me? And you play your decks in and out and you know it really well, and then all of a sudden you're like, maybe the deck I've been winning with for so much is not going to work anymore in the new patch. But I guess that's the fun of the game with all the new cards coming out. So yeah, Lesser Witch, we'll just have to keep an eye on how this all plays out. So let's move on to the next card. We have a epic card, which is a special card. So I don't think we've seen too many specials in the last couple of reveals. So this is nice to see. We have Witch's Sabbath, which is an organic card. I'm already thinking that it can be tutored out with Whispers. So it's 10 provision cost. So it's very, I wouldn't say it's a cheap special card, but it sounds like it's very good. So it says summon up to 3 highest power units from your opponent's graveyard to an enemy row. Then summon as many highest power monster units from your graveyard to the opposite row and give them 0. Okay, so it says you can summon up to 3. So you could potentially just do 1, 2, and then up to 3. And then if you choose 3, then obviously it'll do it for you on the other side. So initially when I saw this, I'm thinking, what do I actually want to pull out, and why would I want to pull them out of my opponent's graveyard?
Oh, well, okay, you finished what you're going to say first.
I was just going to mention that, and I won't go into too much because we're going to talk about it next, but potentially is this something that synergizes well with the legendary card that we're about to discuss?
Yeah, so, well, actually, what I had in mind was, so let's just say, you know, how monsters like to be on red coin when it comes to playing, all their point slam cards. So if you play this in round 2 or something like that as a bleed, you could technically pull out, Ratcatcheress, She Who Knows, whatever, if they get answered right away. And then that's another way to set up Sabbath very quickly.
For you?
Yeah, for you, yeah. Because it says summon as many of the highest power monster units from your graveyard. So highest power is highest base power. So that's going to summon, your bigger base power units. So you could summon a Self Eater, She Who Knows if she gets answered, or if she's not heat waved or whatever. And Ratcatcheress if the resilience doesn't stick.
Mm-hmm. And I stand corrected for the card that I was talking about, because I just realized the provision cost, the provision unit cost, which we'll go into, probably won't be high enough by the time that you play it. But anyway, Gabby, what are you thinking about this card?
Yeah, so where I'm at, this is one of those cards where it's like, I don't understand how to use it, therefore it must be very strong, because I don't quite know. I don't know if the goal is to be summoning from your opponent's graveyard to somehow remove the ability for them to do that for some reason. I can't picture it. Or if the idea is to summon your own, like Ratcatcheress, etc., some of your Sabbath cards. I don't know. And And like, are you hoping to summon your own highest powers and they're going to be higher powered than your enemies?
That's what I was
and
thinking.
yours have order
Like-
and theirs don't have order.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like you're using it to where you actually can play your highest units, and you would just throw some trash onto their board. Because it says highest power units. Well, that could be a squirrel. That could be a blight maker, whatever. Like it doesn't have to be anything good. It doesn't have to be a 10 power unit or whatever for them.
Well, yeah, it says summon up to 3 highest power units, so I guess it would give you the 3 options once you actually go to play this card. But it would depend what's already in your opponent's graveyard. Like, I'm imagining if you were to play, say Skelliger, and they, I don't know, you play this card in the 3rd round or 2nd round, and you're trying to, get Sabbath or whatever, but your opponent's got, like, I don't know, a 15-point Melusine from the last round. So it just depends on what your opponent plays in. I think it's a conditional card. I'm not a big fan personally of cards that are super conditional, and I feel the monsters this expansion are very conditional because I hate not knowing. And I know it's like some people like that where it's kind of feels beamy to me. That's how I feel about this. I like when it's more controlled and I know exactly what's going to be happening, but this is like, ooh, if XYZ plays this, then I will get this. But again, it's a card that may just stay in your hand because it's like, well, this is not going to work out for me. So yeah, I think it's a cool card, but again, I'm not sure if this is something that I would personally play. But yeah, what do you guys think? Is this something that you would want to play in your deck? Gabby's
it feels memey. No, I know it feels memey. I want it. I can almost picture it. I don't know what it would be like a direct response to, but I can almost see like a very meta deck. And you're like, I'm going to play Witch of Sabbath and summon your card and then like, I don't know, lock it. And I don't know. I don't exactly know what the cards are, but it does feel memey. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, like it also does give them Doom, so. I guess it just depends on what, if you can control what your opponent throws into the graveyard, then yeah, I could see people using it. But like I said, I think the whole concept is let's find a way to get Sabbath right away with this card. And then we can do it again.
Is it giving all of the cards doomed? The
yes.
enemies and
it's
your
giving,
own? So that's actually
giving your units
kind of interesting. Yeah, so if you're playing this round, I don't know, round 2, I guess, is when you're going to want to play it.
Maybe it's a round 2 kind of card because then it denies your opponent because of all the graveyard stuff that's going on, maybe it denies them of, using good cards in round 3. Maybe that's what the goal is for this, and then you get Sabbath. So I think potentially you would want to play She Who Knows if you are going to play Witch of Sabbath, potentially like keeping She Who Knows in your deck so that you have the resilience and you have the carryover, and then your opponent is denied of having those units in their graveyard because it's doomed, right? So it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what this card is for. Again, like you would have to see this in play, I guess, and then see what kind of combinations come up and what you can actually do with it. But this art is quite dark. Like I was saying this in the last episode, I think all the art in all the factions besides Scoia'tael, airy fairy, but the rest of the cards in all the other factions, they have a darker feeling to it.
I mean, that's just how Gwent is, and that's what I love about this game.
I was gonna say, I think that's what people love about Gwent.
Yeah, they're not shy to show off the gory stuff.
But I feel like it's darker than normal,
right?
I don't know. It feels darker than normal. Like last expansion, the Self Theater was quite dark, but
I think last expansion was one of the least dark ones that I know of, but this one definitely feels back to its roots. I agree. Yeah.
Witch of Sabbath. So I think we'll have to wait and see if it's something that we want to play potentially. As you said, Gabby, I play monsters and I did play relics, a couple of seasons ago when it was completely broken. I did the whole relics package with the Self Eater at 6 points, and then Caranthea would pull out Gurney and Gurney would transform into a 7. So that's when I played relics. So potentially maybe this would work well with the other cards that have come out in the previous expansions. But yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see. Um,
I mean,
so let's
can
move
you
on to
imagine the value? Like, just real quick, just touching on the summoner aspect of it. Can you imagine, like,
Mhm.
let's just say you spent Gurney, She Who Knows, and Ratcatcherus round one just to try to win the
Mhm.
rounds or whatever, knowing that you can bring
Mhm.
them back again in round three with
Yeah,
this card.
I think that
Like,
is
all three of those engines
that is
all
a
at
lot of
once, that's
Or
pretty scary.
bleed round 2. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty scary if you ask me to bring all those back. And it's not like they have to
mm,
be deployed. And it's always in, like it says right here too, from your graveyard to the opposite row. So that means they're all going to be in the same row for Sabbath to be enabled.
That's true.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think it depends what you will summon out of your opponent's graveyard, right?
Yeah,
Because
true.
it can work in your favor, but at the same time, it might not work in your favor depending on whatever you've already removed or your opponent's got in their graveyard. Because don't forget with Skellige, which we talked about last episode, they've got Rogan the Undying in their graveyard already. So, but then he wouldn't deploy
That's also
anymore, would
scary.
he?
With
Wait, hang on.
no,
So,
he doesn't have to be deployed. He just he can be played or
oh
summoned.
yes, exactly. It says when played or summoned from your graveyard, trigger all remaining rain and storm on the opponent's side of the battlefield.
Yeah.
So if
So
you
this
want
card
It
could
does feel
technically be
conditional. Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to
very
play it in every
scary.
game. That's 10
Yeah.
points, or sorry, 10 provisions you might not want to play. That's a lot.
Yeah, because say if you already had rain or storm on your side and you put this down because you're thinking I need Sabbath, I need carryover, then your opponent's got Rogan the Undying in theirs. You've summoned it, right? It's not a deploy ability. He's gonna trigger all that damage, and you're like, okay, well, why did I do this? it's like a self damage. So I
Yeah.
think it really depends on what your opponent's playing. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not a big fan of putting this card in, like, fingers crossed, hope for the best, like this is gonna work out, because I feel like every time I've done that, it doesn't play out to the way that I want it. I'm very kind of controlling, so people might be a bit different with this, but I like to like kind of control the game that I'm playing and know exactly what's gonna happen and how I can like remove my opponent's threats rather than kind of like taking a gamble hoping for the best. That's why I don't play decks kind of with Shoop or Azure, because it's too, I don't know, it feels like a casino to me a little bit, and this feels a little bit similar to that. But yeah, look, it has the potential to play for a lot. I guess if is it broken or not, I think we'll have to wait and see.
Remember, guys,
Right, it's going to depend on what everyone else plays.
Yeah.
Like everything else, it's weird in these kind of games. It's as
Remember,
good as the decks
guys,
you play against.
This coming from the Miss Streamer who played Imperial Golem for 0 points. Just kidding.
Stop. Well, that
Dandelion show
the
material.
Dandelion show. So,
Uh,
but I've improved since then. Trust me, I think.
I'm just
Any
messing
other
with you,
thoughts
but
on the
yes.
Witch's Sabbath before we move on?
No, I think that's it. I mean, like I said, yeah, I didn't think about the Ryogan, so like, yeah, that could be a very negative card that you would have to bring out. If you bring out Melusine, that, and if they had a Fukusia, like, that's pretty scary. Well, Fukusia's deploy, but yeah, but still, regardless, like if you're up against Skellige's in that situation, yeah, that's kind of working against you.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's about it,
let's
right?
move
That'd
on
be pretty much, yeah.
So the next card we have.
So we're gonna
is
talk
a
about this
legendary
card, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yaga, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a relict.
Yeah.
Very interesting artwork. It kind of reminds me a monster's version of Karak City Guard. So it's a 1 point power, 13 provision cost. So on deploy, if you have Sabbath, you gain Zeal. Its order ability is consume a 4 provision unit, then increase the provision value by 1. Cooldown 2. So the tagline here says, so a bit of lore, the Witch Queen sat upon her throne of bones, gorging herself on all and sucking the life out of everything that came her way. For centuries she feasted until one day she could no longer stand at all, and so she ate some more.
So, you know how I was teasing some lore about this card?
Tell us.
So, like I said, I reached out to Ryan and I asked him, I'm like, is this based on the Slavic folktale of Baba Yaga?
Baba Yaga.
Do you guys? Yeah. Do you guys
I
know about
do.
that tale?
Yeah.
No,
I grew up
yeah,
in
Ryan's
Canyon,
like-
so my grandma horrified
Yeah,
us
so
with
Ryan-
Baba Yaga.
Yeah. It's a very scary folk tale to scare the children with. So it's based on a witch who lived out in, I believe, the set of woods, right? And she lived kind of like in a shack, I guess. And
More than a shack. It was
Oh,
on a shack
it was a
on
house.
chicken
It was a house.
legs.
A house on chicken legs, yes.
On
So this
chicken
house
legs.
moved
That's
around.
the scary part.
But yes, those, like I said, she was known as a witch that basically would hunt children and eat them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is like the
Okay.
whole concept of like in The Witcher 3, you see Anna Stringer, taking care of the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and but then you find
The
out later
crones
on
would
that
eat
those
them?
kids serve a purpose. Yeah, like the crones
Mhm.
plan to eat those kids. That's why they made them all fat and plump or whatever.
Well, I think Baba Yaga here has definitely eaten a lot of
Yeah.
kids that have been
It's
plumped
good.
up for
No
sure.
chicken legs are gonna carry this body.
Oh,
So-
No,
chicken legs
no.
would snap in half.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, instantly this card, 13 provision cost, it's quite expensive. It starts off as a 1 power. I would say you would have to play this with Sabbath, because easily it could be, if you put it down and didn't have Zeal, it would play for like 1 point, and then your opponent could easily take it out if they were able to. So it says consume a 4 provision unit. Now that's interesting because that would mean you can either consume on your side or your opponent's side.
Agreed. I can't picture you ever doing it on your side with monsters specifically, but you're correct. It would assume either way. But yeah, this one is weird. It's like, it's lock bait, but you don't want a 13 provision lock bait. Like, you need it to stick. So if it's,
Yeah, like
I don't know. It's memey. This
Like-
one, I think it's going to be fun, but it's very
Yeah.
memey.
Yeah.
So what I see this card doing, and like I think we were talking about this yesterday, just off recording. This card's gonna eat a 4 provision unit, and like I said, that could be either an NL Conqueror, a Kikimor Worker, any of these other 4 provision cards that have like really high base power. Fish Slappers, for Skellige. Right then and there, that's 8 points right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then, 2 turns later, it's going to go up to a 5 provision unit. So then you could eat, a Griffin or whatever.
Yeah, but
so,
the
like,
question is, will it stick for another 2 turns?
Well,
Will it be
yeah,
locked?
so I'm saying, if it sticks, well, I mean, here's the thing. If you run this with Carapace, then how do you answer this? If it's protected
If
by
you run
like a
this with what,
Defender
sorry?
or... Yeah, with Carapace, like the leader.
Oh,
when
yeah,
it gets
yeah.
Veil.
Okay.
Then it's a very scary engine that's going to sit there and just keep eating higher provision units
Mm-hmm.
if it sticks. But yeah, like if you can't answer this card, it's pretty scary because it's just going to keep eating your stronger units and denying you more of that value. Like I said, if you're running into a whole Nilfgaard situation, and like we were saying, if they play a Thirsty Dame or a Mage Torture or any of these new any of these Simulate cards that are getting a lot of value lately, yeah, like you can eat that, and those cards get pretty high.
But I think against Nilfgaard, there's a lot of answers for it. You've got, as you said, if you put Veil on it, you would just put Vincent on it. You've got the locks.
Yeah,
You've
that
got
is true.
Yengar.
Yeah, you would set yeah. But I mean,
So I'm not
that
sure
would probably be its worst matchup. Is probably against Nilfgaard for this particular card. But if if you were running up against Northern Realms or
I would even say against
Scoia'tael.
Scoia'tael. Mm.
Yeah, like Scoia'tael, it could answer the Whisperer, could answer a Sorceress, a Seer,
Mhm.
a Scribe. A Scribe is a 4 provision unit that gets up to 10 power.
This is just
After
guys.
3
I was
turns.
imagining Yaga like actually eating the Whisperers, and it was quite sad.
Yeah, like if a Scribe gets counter 3 enabled, that's 10 points right there, and this card's already playing for 11 points. So like, that's pretty good, and it's a 4 provision unit.
Yeah.
So
I guess with the Scoia'tael though, even if it ate something that was a 4 point, it would be 5. They would just do a rebuke.
They're going to rebuke it. That's what I was going to say. But they got to eat it. So that's also You eat someone's
Yeah, but
sorceress.
is it worth 13 provision cost?
No, I don't think it is worth 13 provisions.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
I
saying
just-
it's a meme card.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of these things where if everyone plays YAGA, then everyone's going to run a lock. And then as everyone runs locks, people are going to run YAGA less. And then people are going to run locks, yes. And then people are going to run YAGA more. This is going to be one of these, like, weird, like, I think up and down over the season, I think. Because it's so, like, easy to combat, but you have to plan to do it too. You know?
Yeah, and include some of these cards into your deck to just kind of counter this. I mean, I like the idea of the card. I'm skeptical of how long it will actually stick. Like cooldown 2 is quite long, I would say. It gives time for your opponent to, think of something to remove it, and again, you'd have to have Sabbath. So like if your opponent knew that you had not new, but if they were trying to play around this, and anyway, for monsters, if they're playing relics, you try and deny the Sabbath as much as possible. If you can't get Sabbath, it's a very easy target. So 13 provision cost as well, very expensive. I think it's a meme card. I think a lot of these cards for the monsters is very conditional and memey. So I think they're super cool, but yeah, it really would be like, is this gonna work or not? I really don't know.
Yeah. When YAGA works, it's gonna be so dope. Like that's how I feel about it. But like, how often is that gonna happen? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Another thing I also just didn't factor in is like, okay, so you're eating a 4 provision unit, right? And whatever its power is at, you're getting that as points. So let's just say, going back to the scribe, for example, it gets up to 10 points, right? Okay, so it's eating 10, but technically, it's really playing for 20.
Okay, that actually makes sense. Yeah,
because you're eating a 10, and then you're also taking away a 10.
How many 10 for 4s are there, though? Like, that's about as best as
I mean, just hypothetically, just saying, like...
Hypothetically, sure, but, like, that's like, best case scenario, though.
Yeah, best case scenario,
we wait a couple turns for this 4 for 6 for 4 to get to 10 for 4. 4 for 4.
And we've seen a lot, and we've seen a lot of the other people, or a lot of other players too. Eating or playing a lot of these 8-point cards, like Raging Bear, and then you also have the Nilfgaardian Knight. Those are 8-point cards for 5 provisions.
So go up to a 9.
Yeah, that'll go up to a 9. Like that's kind of high to.
You're right.
That's kind of hard to answer right away if it's able to eat that.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's getting its value right then and there.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they could have Toll Punish, so I'm thinking again of like Heat Wave, Yenbo, something like that.
And even then, like
Spores.
If they answer with a Toll Punish right away, then it traded up, because that means they won't answer something of value later.
Yeah.
Do you really care if you lose the 15-point unit that's just eating more units?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Sunset Wanderers, though. Like, remember when Sunset Wanderers came out, everyone was running like an Axie or Spores or Yiden to counter this. Maybe like we'll see a couple of that come back into play as well, instead of like a lock. So like letting the Yaga get as big as possible, and then like just getting rid of it. But I don't know.
Okay, for another example too. Against Hyperton, if Yaga comes down as your finisher, and you have Sabbath enabled, and you're up to a 6, if it's coming down enough time for it to be like technically your long round finisher, then it eats the golem that they normally will play, for Vilgefortz. So most likely kill their lower unit.
What's the provision cost of the golem again?
6.
6. So you would have to wait until you've got to the 6th provision unit, and I think that would be like 6 cooldowns.
That's 6 turns.
So it'd have to be a long round.
So it has to be 6 turns. But I mean, like I said, these are all just hypothetical scenarios. But
conditional.
I still think conditional hypothetical scenarios. But like still, being able to eat a 4 provision unit that's boosted to really high, and then you eat it. Yeah, you're getting the boost, but then you're also denying those points too from your opponent. So like it's getting its value right away. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just playing, it's 5 points. If he needs a 4th division unit, that's only 4 points.
But
So
imagine you
technically
play
played
this
for
in
more.
imagine if you had this in like a short round 3, uh, like you would have to wait, and I don't know. It depends what your opponent has in a short round 3 too. But then again, it's like maybe it's like a 13 provision cost down for a 1, and you have to wait one turn. But I don't know if it's something that I
That is
would
true.
keep in my hand if I was doing a short round 3. Um,
Probably not. This is something you definitely want to play either in round 1 or round 2 as a bleed. Because
yeah.
most likely your opponent's going to want to try to use cheap cards to get out of the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
They're never going to want to spend their big golds just
Mm-hmm.
to try to win a round, unless they have to.
Yeah. Yaga, very conditional, but again, it will high risk, high reward. I was saying this in the last episode. A lot of these cards are high risk but high reward. If they you can get them to stick or to work and get the sequencing right, then yeah, it plays for a lot of points. But so I mean, let's wrap this up. What do you guys think of the cards in general for monsters? Do you think they're broken? Are they busted? Or do you think they're balanced and they're going to bring a lot to the game?
I gotta go with balance. They don't seem broken to me, to be
Mm-hmm.
perfectly honest. I don't expect to see YAGA, and maybe that's that's how they're gonna get me. But I'm gonna go with balanced. I don't think they're the worst, but I do think they're conditional, which is a nicer / another way of like saying Mimi maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how I feel about them. Art's great though. Love
Would
the
you
art.
play these, Gabby? Would you include these in your
I
deck?
am not. I could kind of see a YAGA meet. Like again, I feel like I need it to between YAGA and I think Lesser Witch is gonna be played. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure about YAGA. I don't know if Incubus. I don't really understand how Incubus is supposed to work, and I don't understand Witch's Sabbath either. So a lot of them, I think we're gonna have to see how the rest of the cards play out. We're gonna see how the patch comes out, and we'll see how better players than I actually play with them. And then I'll know. I like the
Answers?
idea though. Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. Somebody in CDPR likes to worship feet. Just saying. No, uh, no, I mean, so yeah, like, I mean, these cards are interesting. Like Abby was saying, they have a lot of confusing text, and how they're going to be played, and what are they really going to be pulling from the graveyard most of the time, or what are they going to really be doing on the board? I mean, I guess like I said, we just have to wait and see how it's all going to play out. I'm probably going to spend a lot of time in private matches with some friends from the team and trying to test all these cards out because I don't know if I really want to go throw myself into a ladder right away and like trying to read the cards then and there, like, okay, how does this work? And then end up making, several misplays all at once.
Well, maybe I can experiment for you guys in the letter, and I'll report back to you. No, but I probably will be the same. I would have to do this in training mode, or play some friendlies with other people just to get a feel for the cards and like see how they work, because as you guys mentioned, like there's a lot to take in. It's not your typical kind of cards that we have seen in the past, and there's a lot of text in here that are pretty new to us. So we'd have to experiment a lot. So I think maybe in the first week of the patch, it's gonna be a little chaotic, I would say, while everyone tries to figure out how to counter these cards and like how to work them out. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be the same as you guys and potentially just play this as friendlies and see how this all works and wait for the meta to settle. Oh, amazing, guys. Any last thoughts before we wrap up the cards?
Just really appreciate you guys having me on here.
Oh, thank you so much, Gabby, for joining us. Shout out to GabbyDigs. We will leave her social handles in the show notes in the description. So guys, check her out. She streams Gwent, but she also plays other games, which I love. I always jump into your streams. I learn a lot, and I love having it in the background and seeing you explore different games besides Gwent. But again, thank you so much for joining me, Gabby, on the show today with Ezra's and I on I Look Beyond the Continent. We look forward to having you on the show again. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. And we'll see you for the next episode.